Hey, Rob here for Quadratec with our TJ Revival project back in the shop for some more upgrades today. We showed Deb what we've done so far and she was very happy with those interior upgrades. Now remember, the idea of this project is to breathe some new life into this older Wrangler without breaking the bank. So we're definitely keeping the budget in mind. Now so far we've got a little under $700 invested into some of those interior upgrades in the way of a new best top, soft top. Now I'm throwing that into the interior category because it's helping to protect that interior and the driver, of course. We've got some new diver down seat covers and floor liners in the Jeep. Now today, we're moving down under the vehicle to tackle this worn out suspension. While we could simply go through and replace all of the bad bushings and components that are worn out, we could take this opportunity to go ahead and improve the performance of this TJ in the way of a small suspension lift. So I've got our Quadratec maximum duty 2.5-inch suspension here. Now this is a budget-minded suspension for a TJ, so it's not over the top, but it does include everything we'll need to get a small boost so we can fit a slightly larger wheel and tire package on this vehicle. We've got all new springs, bump stops, brackets required to relocate the track bar, and we've got a couple options when it comes to shocks, which I'll cover when it comes time to get them installed. So we're not going to waste any more time. I'm going to go ahead and get the Jeep up in the air and start ripping off some of those old components. At this point, I've got that front suspension torn down, removed those shocks and springs, but before I get to installing that new maximum duty suspension, we need to address the condition of a lot of those original factory bushings. At this point, they've been under the vehicle for over 20 years, so I went ahead and removed one of those front lower control arms to show you the condition of these original rubber bushings. You can see they're all dry rotted and cracked. Now we have a couple options when it comes to replacement. We could simply get new bushings and spend the time with a shop press, pushing these out of these original control arms, pressing in the new bushings. Or we could go a much easier route and simply replace the control arms. Now we have a couple options when it comes to new control arms. We could go with something like a Performance Lynx heavy-duty control arm. Now these are constructed from a heavy wall, 2-inch diameter steel tube, and they feature our Quadratec dual durometer bushings on both ends that make them super flexy, great for tackling trails off-road. They're also adjustable, which means you'll be able to fine-tune your alignment specifications and dial in the placement of the front and rear axle for the best possible fitment with a different size lift kit. Now these are good for anywhere from 0 through 4 inches of lift. Now, where they do perform really well, they also come with a slightly higher price tag. A full set of Lynx replacement arms is going to come in a little bit over $800. As I mentioned, we're watching the budget on this build and we're trying to be conscious while returning some factory-like performance to this vehicle. So another great option is to go with something like a factory-style replacement arm from Crown Automotive. As you can see, this is an identical copy of those original control arms constructed out of stamped steel. It does feature original factory-style Cleveite rubber bushings. Now those heavy-duty rubber bushings are going to do a great job at returning a factory-like ride quality back to this Wrangler, absorbing vibrations from the road and performing okay off-road, although they're definitely not going to be as flexy as these Lynx performance control arms are. However, that's okay because this Jeep is going to spend most of its time on the road and maybe on short trips off-road or at the beach. And the best part about a kit like this from Crown Automotive is that we can get all 8 replacement control arms with all new bushings for about the cost of a single pair of Lynx control arms, and we can save that money and put it somewhere else in this project. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in and make my way around the other control arms up front. With the springs installed on the front axle, we're almost finished up front. We've got all 4 new control arms in. The last thing we've got to do is go ahead and get our new shocks in. Now, when it comes to the maximum duty suspension, you have 3 choices for shocks. You can choose our Hydro shock, a Nitro shock, or you can upgrade to the top of the line Fox monotube shock for this suspension kit. They're basically getting a good, better, best, if you will, choice when it comes to shocks. And of course, the cost is going to compare to each one of those levels. Now, because this Jeep is going to spend most of its time on the road, as we previously mentioned, the Hydro shock is a perfectly suited shock as a twin tube shock. It's going to absorb the vibrations from the road, and it's still going to perform well for mild off-roading as well. Now, if you were going to spend a little bit more time off-road, but you didn't necessarily want to take the upgrade to the cost of the Fox shocks, you could choose the Nitro shock. It's going to be slightly stiffer than the Hydro, performing a little bit better in off-road conditions. Now, for the ultimate off-road suspension with the maximum duty kit, choose the Fox monotube shock. This monotube design is going to perform much better with heavy off-road use. So today, I'm going to be installing our Hydro twin tube shocks up front, and then with these in place, we can move on to that rear suspension. With our shocks on the rear axle, we're about wrapped up with our suspension install. Now, I will make note, with an older TJ, a problem area is definitely these upper shock bolts. If you were able to get them out without a problem, this is the perfect time to go ahead and install a set of bar pin eliminators like we did. Now, instead of using that bar pin to hold the upper shock mount in place with the 2 bolts going up into the underside of the body, we'll replace it with the bracket that bolts in place, and then we simply use a bolt through the bushing in the shock. Not only does it make it much easier and give you more options when it comes to shocks down the road, but if you ever have to change that out again, you're not dealing with those bolts going up into the bottom side of the body. Now, at this point, we've got our new rear control arms installed. I've left everything a little bit loose. I'm going to tighten that when it's down on the ground. Now, speaking of that, whenever you're doing a suspension, a tip for you is to go ahead and leave things like your track bar disconnected, as well as maybe things like your sway bar until you're down on the ground with the weight of the vehicle on the wheels and tires. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier at getting that track bar lined up and that sway bar reconnected. So before I can do that, well, it is time to get some wheels and tires on this so I can show you what we've picked out. Now, of course, we saved a little bit of money when we went with the factory style replacement control arms and the Hydro shocks instead of the other higher end options like the Lynx control arms or the Fox shocks. But that means we can spend that in another area, like some new wheels and tires for this TJ. Now, we're upgrading from those small factory 15-inch wheels to a new 16-inch wheel. This is, of course, our Quadratec Moab aluminum wheel, styled after the popular factory Rubicon wheels found on the early TJ Rubicons, a great, strong-looking 5-spoke wheel that's really going to make this TJ look fantastic. Now, this wheel is available in 3 color options for you. You can choose silver, satin black, or my favorite and our newest available color option, the machined face with a satin black inset. That black inset is really going to make that machined face pop on these wheels. It's going to look great when this Jeep is out in the sun. This is a 16 by 8-inch wheel for YJs and TJs, also available for older Jeeps and XJs. There's also a larger version of this wheel, a 17-inch version for the newer Wrangler JKs, JLs, and even the Gladiator JTs. Now, when it comes for tires, we chose to wrap one of Nitto's newest tires, the Terra Grappler G3 all-terrain tire, around the Moab. Now, you can get my complete breakdown on the Terra Grappler G3 by watching that full video by clicking the info button. Of course, this is their newest all-terrain tire with that triple Mountain Peak snowflake design, meaning it's going to be perfect for all-season use, both on-road and off-road, with a slightly aggressive all-terrain design, yet it's still going to have great on-road manners, which is where this Jeep is going to spend a lot of its time, so it should be perfectly suited for this build. Now, in the meantime, if you like these videos and you haven't already, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification icon so you're sure to catch the next episode when we tackle the exterior features on our Jeep Wrangler TJ, breathing some new life and putting some shine back on the outside. You're not going to want to miss that. Of course, if you have any comments or questions about anything I installed today or previously, you can leave those down for me in the comment section below or by simply heading to the website. Till next time, I'm Rob. I'll see you on the trail, but right now, I'm going to get some wheels and tires on this Jeep and getting everything tightened up when it's back down on the ground.